This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.
There we go.
Very good. Okay. All right. I'm going to call to order the meeting of the Southampton Select Board for October 25th, 2022 at about 6:07. So if we could all stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay. Well, we have a rather foggy night out there, but we're all good and safe inside here. So we have everybody here tonight. Reni's off tonight. She's not available, so we will proceed with our business. We've got a fairly full agenda here, and we'll see how well we can get through it all. We actually have, let's see if we have any open time for the public. Anybody have anything to say? Sure, come on up.
Lucy Dalton, 10 Strong Road, Town Clerk. I just wanted to remind voters that early voting is tomorrow and Thursday, 8:30 to 4 in the Town Clerk's office, and Saturday from 9 to 1 in the Town Clerk's office, and then next Monday through Thursday, same thing, Town Clerk's office from 8:30 to 4. And just to update you all, we have mailed out, we have received 1,300 applications for requests for mail-in ballots, and we've mailed them out. We're waiting for them to come back in. And so far we have about 70 early in-person voters come in to vote. So, and reminder that the election is November 8th, 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. and there is no early voting on Friday, this Friday or next Friday. So I just wanted to update everybody.
Good.
So,
all
okay.
Right. Thanks.
Thank you.
See, just a question.
Yeah.
Is that more mail-in applications than we normally have?
No, in 2020 it was much.
About that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, much more.
It'd be a good turnout then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good.
Thank you.
All right. Great. No, thanks for that, Lucy. And everybody, please make your plans and get to town hall to vote or mail them in, whichever way. Whichever way. All right. Thank you. All right. Let's start. We have no public hearings or presentations tonight, and we'll just jump right into the report section. So let's go with the town administrator report. Ed, if you would start off, please. And
sure.
Just move your mic over a little bit, Ed, so we hear you. There we go. Thanks. So,
as Lucy just said, the state election is Tuesday, November 8th, and voting for our 2 voting precincts is here in the Senior Center at 210 College Highway from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Final Site, the vendor for our town website upgrade and design, is ready to start the first steps in the design process. Would there be any volunteers from the select board members to work on this project, along with a couple members of the ad hoc technology committee and a few department heads and myself to help with the initial steps and phases of this project? The official ceremony for the East Street Bridge opening will be on Thursday, November 3rd at 11:30 a.m. at the bridge. The request for proposals for the annual independent audit services is available, and responses are due by Thursday, November 3rd at 1 p.m. The capital requests from the departments and boards and committees are due and have been coming in. Currently, there are 2 projects which I was going to request consideration for funding from the Capital Committee for Town Hall for the upcoming fiscal year. Masonry repairs to the area around the main entrance to the building where the flagpole is, and replacement of the broken HVAC mini split system that serves the studio room in the basement. If you think of any other projects for this upcoming fiscal year's requests for capital funding, which I may have missed, please let me know. The contractor for the Manhan Meadow Sanctuary Trail reconstruction work of the trail restoration has finished the project to substantial completion as specified in the contract, with a couple of minor items remaining on the punch list. And then Rini asked me if I'd report on the 2 feasibility committees, the responses for the public safety complex feasibility study, requests for qualifications are due back on Thursday, November 3rd at 1 p.m. The Public Safety Building Committee met last week on October 17th and received some information regarding the town of Williamsburg's process of design and construction of their public safety complex, which is currently ongoing. Last week, the committee also had a site visit and tour of the Granby Public Safety Complex to view what the town of Granby had built and included for facilities about 10 years ago. The Senior Center Feasibility Committee met on October 20th and has been working with their feasibility study architect Abacus and is researching information and site plans for the parcels which are being considered up to this point. They have a public information gathering session scheduled with the committee and Abacus Architects, which is open to the public for Thursday, November 10th at 3 p.m. To be held here in the Southampton Senior Center. And then upcoming select board meetings for November to be determined, and state election Tuesday, November 8th. Mm-hmm. And actually, I think we actually did determine the...
I think we determined one meeting.
Yeah, the November 10th, which is a
10th.
Thursday due to the election, and then the 8th or the 22nd.
I think that's what we talked about last time.
We did that at the last meeting.
Yeah, 10th and the 22nd. Okay, right. All right, does anybody have any questions of Ed of a couple things here? Sounds like we've got a lot of RFQs kind of coming in all at once here. So that's good if we get the ones in for the audit as well as for the public safety complex. So the meeting for the senior center feasibility is an in-person meeting at the senior center, right? It's not a Zoom meeting. It's a public information meeting in person, okay. And then my understanding, talking with Chair of Concom, is that even though that part of the Manhan Meadows has been done, we have not formally opened the trail yet. So that is still not yet open until there's a little bit more work to be done down there. Sounds good. I think back up on B for the website design, there was a tech meeting last night and they've got 2 people that are going to join from the tech committee to look at some of the ways to start with this new website upgrade and design, but it would be good along with some department heads that will get involved if we have a couple people from select board that would like to join in on that. I'm planning to, but if there's anybody else that would like to join in on just looking at other websites and getting some recommendations about what templates you like and what you don't like about them. So that would be one thing we probably would need to get going on that next week. Is that
Yes.
They're ready already next week?
Yeah, they're raring to go.
They're raring to go. That's great to know. Okay, so if you have any interest in that, let Ed know on that, okay? You can put my name down, Ed, and I'll join in on that. But.
Thank you.
All right, if no questions, let's move on to other committee reports. Joy, do you have anything?
Sure. Planning board met. They continue to review with PVPC liaison Ken Comia and their...
Can you speak a little louder?
Oh, sorry. And their planning board met. They met with their PVPC liaison and their consultant in regards to zoning bylaws and how to include more affordable housing. They've finished most of the recommendations with Ken. So they're kind of reviewing from there and looking towards next steps on actual changes to the laws. Open Space met. They are discussing the land acquisition in regards to the 500 acres that we discussed. They presented here a couple of weeks ago, or maybe over a month ago at this point. They're looking to determine which landowners of tracts primarily above the Carmody Reservoir would be willing to participate in this project. And there's still 2 at-large positions that are vacant, so interested volunteers can submit an application to the town administrator, and their next meeting is posted for December 1st at 6 at Town Hall. The Conservation Committee met, and besides being very happy to have a Concom agent start November 1st, they wanted to remind the public again that Manhan Meadows Sanctuary is not open yet to the public. Not only is the work not completed, but they still don't have access to the railroad. So just for the public to be aware of that. MHP met with the Housing Trust, or the Affordable Housing, oh my gosh, I'm sorry, Southampton Housing Authority group met, and our primary goal is to disseminate housing trust information for the town to town residents. And that's all.
Okay, great. All right. Francine?
Okay, the Bylaw Review Advisory Committee met on October 19th, and we discussed in detail several bylaws in collaboration with the highway superintendent, and those bylaws were curb cuts and temporary repairs to private ways. And on both of those, the highway superintendent and our committee agreed, so we'll be shortly getting those drafts ready to move along the progress chain, and that means next coming to the select board. We did do a third review on matter on public ways, and what had happened at that point is the highway superintendent brought information to our attention about new requirements just approved by the Connecticut River Stormwater Committee. So we'll be taking that under advisement and consideration. We'll be drafting and modifying our draft, and hopefully we will complete that bylaw at our next meeting, and again, get it ready to bring it forward to the select board. We have requests out to departments, to committees, boards, councils through the town on a couple of draft bylaws where we need some feedback. One has to do with the non-ticketing disposition, and that went out to departments and boards who either charge fines or fees, looking at the rates and making sure that since the last review that our rates for those kinds of violations actually are current. And then we distributed to all the committees and boards 2 drafts of new proposed bylaws having to do with membership and participation on committees, and the other on the manner, the method and the manner in which business is conducted by committees, so that we have some uniformity across the board in terms of procedures and processes in place. Hopefully all of that will be finished by our next meeting, November 2nd. Then the other committee I'm working with is the Pioneer Valley Planning Commission, participating on the Shared Human Resource Feasibility Group, and that committee met on October 17th to review a final draft report. However, the report was delivered so late that no one had time to review it in advance for the meeting, so another meeting will be scheduled, at which time we hope to approve a shared service model we can bring back to the town so that we can get this moving and see what resources might be available to our town and other towns participating in the area of human resource management. And then the Norris School Committee met on October 12th, and I was unable to attend. And that's it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay. John?
Any questions?
Yes. So I'll start. I filled in on the Norris School Committee. So the takeaways from there is that the committee took up for second readings the homeless student policy as well as the military family policies and adopted those without changes. We also took the first reading of the superintendent's 5-year vision session, which I believe since then there's been a public meeting on that last Thursday, I believe, of the all districts. And then the only other the only other item of note from that meeting is that the school committee did in public session ratify a new pay scale for the non-union employees of the cafeteria, which will be coming through. Okay. That's on Norris. PPPB meeting did have a unique Zoom meeting on Thursday night, and all those items will be coming before the committee tonight, I believe. Okay. Right? Yep. I will just point out, because it was a Zoom meeting, so I didn't have originals, so I added the notes tonight. They may not be on the chair's documents until you get there, but the PPD did add notes when it comes to the highway department employee filling in a few hours at the treasurer's office. They put in some restrictions, so we'll just point those out for the record when that comes up. Okay. Finance has not met and Capital Committee has not met yet, but it sounds like Capital Committee is going to meet pretty soon.
Okay, very good. All right, and on my end, basically just some news from the Ad Hoc Grant Committee. We thought we had something easy, but of course the simple and easy ones are the ones that get away from us. We had put in an application for the Mass DOT Signs and Lines Grant program to try and put in 2 crosswalks along Pomeroy Meadow Road for more walkability and bike rideability to get to school on the opposite side of where the shared use path is now. It was a $6,000 grant and we were not awarded it. We got a rejection on that. But they did comment and say that they thought the proposal was very strong and they recommended us to apply for the Mass DOT infrastructure program instead, which is a bit more complicated. The applications are due November 18th. And it's a larger pot of money for sure, so it could be expanded in terms of the kinds of things we might need to do up there. But it's all still got to be within a 2-mile radius of the school, so it really is kind of localized to that area. We will be having a grant meeting tomorrow afternoon with the grant committee, and we've invited the highway super, police chief, and school principal to join us to see if we want to dig in and how we can divide up the work and get it done between now and the 18th. So that's the one that's kind of slipped away, the little ones, but that's okay. They at least gave us some positive feedback for something to try for. So we'll take it under advisement and go for it. We're still waiting on one proposal from Mass Trails regarding the bikeway, the Greenway rather. We had not yet heard about the $200,000 grant application that we had put in for some design work. And so hopefully within the next few weeks, we'll hear something about that one. So that's about it. We haven't had a meeting with the Cost Efficiencies Committee in a bit. I've got to get that organized and we'll have one probably in a couple of weeks to get back on track with that as we start budget season in particular. Okay. All right, anybody have any questions about reports from anybody? If not, all right, let's go on to the next agenda item, which I believe is just, we have one resignation, is that right?
Motion to approve or to accept the resignation of Angela Boldock, Administrative Clerk, Treasurer, Collector's Office, effective October 27, 2022.
Okay.
I'll second.
All right, any discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion's approved. All right. And we thank Angela for stepping in and filling in the gap for us and wish her well on her new adventures, whatever she's going to. And hopefully we can find a replacement without too much trouble here. Right, new business. Ed, we have the Green Community Grant, some additional information from the highway garage and police station and street lighting.
Right.
So I know we aren't fully ready to vote on anything yet. This is still a portion of the package, but yeah, why don't you walk us through a little bit of what we have here to look at. So
part of their assignment for this was to take a look at the heating and cooling system in the highway garage and office. So that one is for the highway garage. The current boiler that's in there, I don't know how old it is, but it's starting to fail. So it is time, and we do have some capital funds approved to replace that. Also, there is a proposal to do, we had received one for lighting in the police station, but this one is for the upgrade to the, what would be the air conditioning portion of their HVAC system. They did put in 2 new furnaces, boilers this past year, but this would be an upgrade to the air conditioning portion to a mini split system. And then the next one is a proposal for street lighting to change the street lights over to LEDs, and this one does get expensive because we would have to purchase the street lights out from Eversource. The last time I got a cost estimate from Eversource to do that, and this goes back probably 2 years at least, it was like $38,000. So we should weigh this one against Eversource's, what seems to be their new policy, since most of our streetlights are coming to the end of their useful life. They did say when they were here and did their presentation that they have a program where over a 5-year period, they would change our streetlights out to LEDs. Not all at once, but over a 5-year period. So like 20%, 20%, 20%, 20%, and 20%. And then the only other one that they're on assignment to do, which we're waiting for, is they did have a hard time connecting with the elementary school to get in there and take a look at their HVAC controls, but they did connect this past week, so I know that they have made arrangements to schedule a visit there. So that last one should be coming along.
Mm-hmm. So all in all, just refresh our memories on this here now. So we have this 130-some thousand grant.
We have a $138,000 grant that we received from when we were accepted as a green community that we can use towards these projects.
Right.
Correct.
So as we install the equipment, it's not the installation cost is still ours to fund from capital or not?
Well, the whole project is ours. So then you would look at the proposal, they'd have a project cost, they would have a rebate cost on it, so you've got a net cost, and then depending on how much, we should rank these by the energy savings on each one, but then you would take a look at utilizing that either portions or I'll just say portions to each proposal of that DOER Green Community Grant to pay the difference between what would be the product and installation costs less the rebate. So if you had a project that was $50,000 but had rebates on it of $20,000, you would look to use $30,000 of the DOER grant funding to fund that project. And again, our goal is to prove that we are able to save utilization-wise 20% off our energy usage since we were approved.
Okay.
Question. So what happens if we don't meet the expectations?
We won't be eligible for further
But financially,
grant
we wouldn't be
applications.
penalized.
No,
Right, okay.
no. I mean, we want to get to that 20% savings because then we're eligible to put in for other projects and get additional grant funding.
Right.
Yeah.
And it seems like this has been on our agenda pretty
while.
much since I got elected a year and a half ago.
Right, and we haven't had the proposals to get moving forward.
Well,
I mean, there was,
I would disagree with some of that,
well, there was
but,
one at the school that already was done, and
Thank
that was a
you.
wash. Yeah.
right, so it's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
there's, the HVAC has already been proposed from the schools once. This is a different vendor and running the numbers a second time, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so here I have before me the highway garage at $71,000, which one of the ad hoc committees is recommending that the highway garage be demolished as a possibility, and we install a new public safety complex there. The second one is for the police department, which if we're successful in the public safety complex, we're going to make an investment and then we're going to abandon the building. Streetlights I really like, but I understand and agree with your comment about the upfront cost and overtime and based on what they said before. It just seems like we're trying to eat a cow here when we should be eating steaks as we go along. We're waiting to get the whole package together. We have a cap of 130,000, 71 for the highway, 51 for the police department, you know, already puts us up near that before we even get to street lighting.
Right.
You know, so I would be of the thing, and for the record, I like all these ideas, but if we're going to do something different with the police department or the highway garage, we almost have to wait. Well, we don't have to. I almost have to wait before I can vote in favor of this until after the ballot questions. Because why would I support spending $71,000 for an HVAC system at the highway garage if we're going to knock it down next year to build the new public safety complex, which is one of the desired locations that the Public Safety Committee has put forward.
And what's the reality of that happening?
I don't know. It's up to the voters.
I'm going to say 0%.
But it's up to the voters.
You haven't put anything in front of the voters yet.
Correct, but I was elected by the voters to represent the voters, and I heard a subcommittee appointed by this board saying the highway department is a desired location. It's up to them whether or not they can convince the citizens to do it, but if they do it, then I look like the fool because I just approved $71,000 for a building we're going to knock down in 18 months.
Well, and the RFQs for the public safety are back in early November, so they'll have, I think it's like 4 months that they're working on that by January.
And let me give John some other information. Within the next 2 months, we're probably going to replace that system anyway because it's broken and antiquated.
At the highway.
Right, so our failure as a town to properly fund our infrastructure program, we're looking for a bailout now that we're saying this 71,000 will get us through the next 5 to 10 years, but yet we have a duly authorized sanctioned committee of this town saying the highway garage is a highly desirable location.
I think you're stretching the words. I have never heard highly desirable location out of that committee.
Why else are
and
they
I
putting
sit
it
on that
forward?
committee.
Why else are they putting it forward as one of their top locations?
It's a possibility.
One of their top is a possibility that the RFQ is going to look at, yeah.
So wouldn't they only put their highly top locations forward? Listen, this is the location we're going to put it forward, but we really don't want it. Well, then why even waste our time by bringing it forward?
The top 5, I mean, or whatever, they had a couple of private and a couple of public ones that they put forward, yes, for the RFQ.
And honestly, the other issue is, from the time, if that's the location that the town votes and approves, how long is it going to take? So how long will the highway department remain in that facility? It's not going to come down in a year or two in our experience. It's going to be several years.
Agreed.
Okay.
Agreed. So do we commit $72,000 to that, or do we just put the whole kit and caboodle into the streetlights? Which we know no one has made an argument to seize the streetlights. And by the way, half of College Highway's out on streetlights, so.
No, that was one of my questions too. If we did the streetlights, because there's lots of places where the streetlights are not active now, right? They're turned off now?
They're not turned off.
They're just-
so if they're off,
They're not working, period.
report them to Eversource and they'll turn them back on.
Okay. Okay, because I'd seen a couple the other night somewhere, and I can't remember where they were now, too. Yeah,
The report's been filed, but
Yeah.
it's been 2 weeks.
yeah.
So in both of the locations, the police department and the highway garage, are we replacing them in the, in the interest of energy efficiency, or is the most important thing? Are they working under conditions in which they don't have adequate heating, cooling, ventilation?
And/or.
Right, but.
Yes.
But we know
For the
the answer
highway
to that
garage.
because we as a town have refused to pump sufficient money into our infrastructure.
So then,
So now we're here like, oh, we have a grant, this will make us look good and feel good, so let's go do this. But yet, we potentially may tear the building down in 18 months.
But again, well, we don't know whether that one will be chosen, that's true, we don't know yet. And we don't know, even if they did choose it, how long they're going to have to work in these conditions, because then it would be a matter of where's the highway department going to go? So that's all got to be part of the equation,
Agreed,
right?
so do we know enough to call for a vote?
Yeah.
I'd say
No, not at this point in time, we don't. I think this is still very much more informational for us. But I wanted to be understanding what's happening with the school. And we had already done one at the school, and that ended up being, with the rebates and everything, that ended up being a wash. It hasn't really counted against our grant money yet, is that?
No, because it was a wash. We haven't used any of our grant money yet.
Right, okay.
Correct.
And so this next phase that they're looking to do is in addition to what's already been done?
It's different. The lighting was done. What they're looking to do now is replace their HVAC controls.
HVAC. Okay.
Which again, for the record, we already received one quote and one estimate for it. I think the town administrator is on the correct path by getting a double check to make sure it's accurate. But we've had that information for almost a year. Correction, 9 months.
Okay. And that's different from, I mean, because didn't you invest already a lot in
Those
putting
were
in
the lights.
No, but during COVID, all the special filtration and,
That was outside of, we didn't get any.
right, but I mean, that investment has already been made in the HVAC system up there, the existing HVAC, has it not? Or no?
Correct. So the investment that was made was enhancing the filtration system.
Right.
This one, I believe they're looking at is the actual mechanical controls, the valves that
Okay.
control and.
Okay, that's what I'm trying to understand.
Right.
Okay,
Yep.
got it, okay. And then back on the energy one for the lights, the way I'm looking at this, so there's a 10-year cash flow analysis in here. So if this is what they're talking about, this would be a yearly savings of about $11,800 over a 10-year period?
Correct.
Right, with the first year up front of I think there's 62,000 installed.
I guess, yeah.
I think that's where the town administrator is referring to the initial buyout.
Correct.
Right.
Which isn't listed in
Yeah.
here.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
But the program that Eversource was talking about when they were here, the 20% per year over 5 years, that was as the lights went out and they needed to replace them kind of going forward, right? It was separate from this program. If we went with this, that's totally different from what they were talking about. I mean, we would
Right.
buy them outright and that wouldn't be part of their,
With this, we would have to buy them,
yeah.
and then we would have to find someone to maintain them for us. What Eversource said when they were here is now that since our lights are basically at the end of their useful life, they do have a program that would, like I say, replace
Over
them,
time.
replace them over a 5-year period, basically 20%, 20% of them each year over those 5.
And during that program, they would continue the maintenance and daily upkeep.
Correct.
of them.
Correct.
Yep. Okay. All right.
Is there a clock ticking here that these funds expire? That we're trying to lump everything together and get it all done as
The
a package?
only clock ticking would be if the rebates had an expiration date.
To the best of our knowledge right now, that's not applicable.
No.
Yeah.
Don't think so, because this has been around for a good 3 years now, hasn't it?
It keeps changing, and every year, you know, the rebates change on the type of lighting or the type of heating systems or whatever, so.
Okay. So you're hoping that they would be able to get a look at the school's situation and give us that information within the next 2-3 weeks as well?
Right, and then the select board would be able to take a look at these and say, okay, what's the cost and what's the energy savings, so that they can take a look at them and rank them in priority or order. And, you know, theoretically, you would want the highest energy savings up front.
Right.
Or at the top of the list.
From that point of view.
Correct.
And if, for example, I mean, if you look at this, the one for the highway department on the, whatever this, sorry, the garage unit heater one, is that the one I'm looking at? Or there's a heat pump and heaters, there's 2 separate things, right? So.
Correct.
2 different projects at the highway garage. And right now, neither of those have been put in for capital funds, right?
Well, actually, they have approval to utilize capital funds to replace the heating system from the annual town meeting.
Okay. So whether we did this under the grant or separately, it's still going to happen, it sounds like.
There's got to be a catch, though. I mean, is it the fact that the funds have already been approved? If we initiate and start down that road, saying we're using the annual town meeting to pay for this, it then cancels this out? Or can we actually do the project under the capital funds, allow time to have the next vote, let the citizens speak, and then perhaps the highway garage falls off their radar, and we say, well, now, instead of using capital money, we want to flip this over and put it on this program? Or do we have to decide this before we actually start the process?
You'd have to decide this before you actually start.
That's the catch.
Started the process.
Okay. Well, I think this is good background information. I think we're a bit in a time warp, as you say, in terms of, the proposals, the RFQs are going to be coming back in for the Public Safety Committee by the early part of November. They're going to choose their recommended vendor to help them out, their consultant to help them out with the study of the feasibility study they want to do. And I believe they were trying to fast track that fairly much. So I'm thinking it was like by February or something, they wanted to be pretty much done, or January or February, they wanted to be done with their feasibility study, if I'm not mistaken. So, I mean, it may still be, as they get into their work, we may find out from them how high on the list the highway garage is or isn't. We may not have to wait to the end of the RFQ process.
That might be one of the pushbacks we send back.
Yeah, could be, yeah.
We're considering, I mean, in all honesty, from where I sit, not as a select board member, but as a taxpayer, am I going to go to the ballot and support moving the complex up to the highway department, knowing that I then have to turn around and now support the building of a brand new highway department, which potentially is 3 buildings? Honestly, I'm astonished that this property is even coming forward, but yet they're independent of us and this is what they brought forward. But how much can the town support? Highway garage, public safety, council on aging, water line infrastructure upgrades.
Yep. Okay, so I think at this point in time, we have no need to do any kind of vote. I think it was more just for our information tonight, and just know that this is out there as possibilities, but we know that we've got a few potential obstacles, I guess, to at least work through and figure out what really makes sense and what's the best use of money and what would make a real difference in terms of being able to qualify for this program and keep us involved there. So, okay. So let's just note that that's in the background, and we will come back around to it at some point. Next on the new business agenda, we had a line here for the Senior Tax Work-Off Program, Chapter 59 S5K, and I asked Ed to put around, which is in that little supplemental package you got if you didn't get it already, the copy of the MGL that talked about this. And we do have a senior tax work-off program here, basically managed, from what I understand, not initiated, but managed by the Council on Aging. And there are certain parameters and a certain number of people. I believe a maximum of 10 individuals can be involved in the program in Southampton, from what I've heard. And what has been happening over the last couple of years, since 2020, apparently we have been paying not minimum wage, current minimum wage. We've been paying, I believe, at $12.75 an hour. And the maximum per the MGL is $1,500 to be worked off of your property taxes if you qualify for income, et cetera, and you're on the deed and so forth of your property. So $1,500 has been the maximum amount per the MGL, being paid off at $12.75 an hour for the last couple of years now, which means that people have worked, I believe, 117 hours to reach that level. And then what I'm understanding is there's a new program year that starts, it goes from January to October. And so without trying to do things retroactively, but looking forward to January when the minimum wage is going to be $15, that the question before us from the senior center that had come to me anyway was whether or not we would agree to pay minimum wage for this program, and then take it from there with, updating maybe the parameters for the program, because there might be income guidelines that have changed and so forth. So that's pretty much what I understand about it. It seems like from reading the MGL at the bottom here, although it talks about $1,500 being the reduction of the real property tax bill within a given tax year, it does look like at the bottom of the MGL, there is a possibility for the select board or the municipality legislative body to vote to say, okay, we're not going to worry about dollars, we're going to put a maximum number of hours on it, is the way I understand it. But Ed, if I've misconstrued that, please let me know. Those maximum hours could be 125 hours instead of basically the 117-ish doing now.
If we increase the minimum wage, it would be 100 hours.
Right, if we kept the current $1,500 limit and increased it to the $15 minimum wage, which would take effect in January, then that would mean that any senior that qualifies for this program would only work 100 hours to work off their property or reduce some of their property tax rather than the 117-ish or so that they're working now.
Correct.
Or the option would be not to worry so much about the dollar value of $1,500, right? But to say, we're going to pay 120, we're going to allow 125 hours at whatever the current rate is, and that, so therefore it's like maybe a $1,700 or something thereabouts reduction in their taxes. So there's the kind of the two balances there, and they wanted to get our thoughts on that, and then probably come back to us, talking to Joan and others, come back to us with more defined parameters for the program, because what had been done has been 3 or 4 years old in terms of the income guidelines, et cetera, and so that we would then be able to be clear to seniors what the program entails and who qualifies for it. Okay.
And is there a limit on the number of participants? I'm looking here.
I had heard that it varies per town, and it must have something to do with our population size, I'm guessing. What I had been told was we had a limit of 10, and I don't know how or when that was determined. And I know Ed said you had found something from town meeting way back when about this program starting. We've had it for quite a while in town.
2003 was when town meeting adopted the statute to be able to do the senior work-off program.
Okay, yeah. And I know there's been changes over time. It doesn't date way back when, but it's still probably, obviously if we've only been paying $12.75 an hour for the last 2-3 years, then, we haven't updated a lot. So we probably ought to think about the rest of it. So I guess the question is, would we be in favor of getting to the minimum wage as it will appear in January? I think that's the real question before us right now for tonight anyway.
Okay.
So excuse me. So are we operating off the 2003 annual town meeting vote that established this or accepted this without modification since then? And I'm guessing because it's not before us, somewhere in there would tie out to the 10 people or maxing at $15,000?
There have been modifications since then.
1,500. Oh,
1,500 times 10.
15, yes.
Yeah.
Right. However, with some of the things I've run into here before, I wanted to start at floor 1 and actually find out if the town had adopted MGL Chapter 59, Section 5K. And our town clerk, Lucy Dalton, did go back through the records, and in 2003 we had.
Okay.
So at least we know we've adopted the statute.
Okay.
And there have been modifications since there, and I believe, I'll have to go back, I think it was like 2 years ago, they made a modification to, I believe, the maximum income levels to it.
So would it be prudent for us to pause discussion and ask the town administrator to get a detailed update from the town clerk of all votes after 2003 forward, and so that we could actually see what the citizens voted on?
Yeah.
My feedback, I tend to keep the cap at 1,500 and just adjust whatever the minimum wage is, because it's clear that you can't go above the minimum wage. So we could match the minimum wage and say the maximum you get is 1,500, and as minimum wage increases, it reduces the number of hours that you have to do.
Right, that's true.
But my counter to that is, assuming it is 10 people, and all 10 people apply and are granted, that's $15,000. How much of that is rebated through the senior circuit breaker or any other mechanism? Does the town get reimbursed from that at all from the state, or are we purely offsetting that by our general receipts? And if so, are we putting that debit as an potential expense in our budget?
It actually shows up on the recap through the overlay account. The overlay account is where it is funded.
Where the adjustment happens?
Yes.
All right.
Okay.
And I guess my other reason why I see it, my own experience, it seems strange that this is not being managed by the assessor's office. And I heard the chair say the Council on Aging is.
They're the ones that are running the program in terms of the people that are working. I mean, they know, I think my understanding is it's the senior center director who's in charge of all those volunteers. But in terms of determining who's the ones that meet the criteria, yeah, that has to start with the assessor's office.
Okay, because otherwise
Yeah.
I'd say it seems self-serving.
Yeah, no,
That the
sorry.
director of the Council on
Yeah.
Aging
No,
is determining which senior citizens
Right.
get the tax break.
No, and
Yeah.
in fact, and they're not all working at even at the senior center, they're working at various
Right.
other
Yep.
department
Yep.
levels are around town. So no, I believe it all starts with the assessor's office determining, again, whatever those criteria are for,
And they just manage
single
the
homeowner
day-to-day.
versus, family,
Yep.
or,
Right.
yeah, based on your own tax situation. So it does all start there, as far as I know. So at this point in time, we don't want to do anything further in terms of even talking about,
Well, I would just like to, I'm happy to
Yeah,
talk
no,
about
it's
it, but I'd like to see,
for
before you ask me to vote, I'd like
Yeah.
to see what the citizens
the
have already
parameters.
actually voted on.
Yeah, okay, that's fair.
in writing.
No, as long as we've got a handle on where some of that was coming from. We weren't sure how much we knew and what we could find, but it sounds like you and Lucy have found a few things in the historical documents that could guide us at least as to what the last reasonable votes were on this.
Well, like I say, from my point of view, the one key piece is, okay, did the town actually adopt this
Right,
statute?
which-
Because if we didn't,
Yeah.
okay, guess what? Now's the time to go, we like the program, let's adopt it now. But,
Right, yeah.
Yeah, like I say, Lucy did find that in 2003 it was adopted, so.
Okay.
I'll see what I can find. Like I say, I know that there were one or two changes to it. I think it was a couple years ago. Since I've been here, what happened between 2003 and
Sure.
2018, I'm not exactly
Yeah.
sure of, but we'll see what we can find.
Well, and it would be good to know too, I think, just even how many people have taken advantage of it over the last year or two. And, I assume people have to apply, fairly soon for the new program starting in January. So, we wait, but it would be good to have that information. So let's put this on hold and we'll come back to it at a future meeting. Is that okay with everybody?
Yeah, that makes all the sense, yes.
All right, good. I think we've got some basic information, but maybe not all the pieces of the puzzle to really fully understand it, and especially to be able to explain it to the seniors who might want to take advantage of the program. I think we need to be clear ourselves what the income parameters are, et cetera, so. Okay.
There is that, and then it's, okay, what types of jobs are available
Right,
that
okay.
they may be able to do and fill.
Correct,
so.
okay, yeah, how do you match those out? Okay, sounds good. Okay, next, revenue and expenditure reports for 2023. And so how up-to-date are we on these, Ed? Where are we at with these things? Expenses through,
Expenses were through last Thursday, really.
Okay.
And the revenues, I asked Bradley, and now I have forgotten. I think it was through August.
Oh, okay, well, that's good to hear. I mean,
think.
not good that
Don't
it's,
hold me to that, please.
yeah,
I know it was at least July, but
okay. Now, the reason I say that is because I look at what's come in and what's gone out.
Right.
And so if we're only talking 1 or 2 months of revenue
Yeah.
and 4 or 5 months of expense, then
Right. We're fairly
I'd say
close.
we're in pretty good shape.
yeah, we're fairly close on that, I think.
Yeah,
on the-
they are,
On the general fund, I think we were,
yes.
I think I saw something like 5 million or something out the door at this point in time. Actual expended 5,000,003.
Versus
And-
4.4
Yeah.
revenue.
So,
Yeah.
so we may have a month or two lag, but we're catching up there, which is good. Okay. Anybody have any specific questions on the expenditure reports in particular? Anything that jumped out at you?
Okay, that's,
Nothing in particular? John?
No.
Okay. All right. So once again, we'll keep on doing these expenditure and revenue and expenditure reports at the last meeting of every month and allow folks to catch up. And it sounds like between the treasurer and the accountant, they're doing more and more to be on time and catching up on these things, right? In terms of their postings of various expenses, et cetera? That seems to be
Yeah, they've been
working out.
concentrating on closing out 22, but
Right.
they have been catching up. Yes.
Okay, good, okay.
Can I just ask if we could go back to putting the actual dates on the top, because,
Then we know.
so that we know?
It's my fault, I ran the report, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Actually, I thought I had done that, and
Yeah.
I looked at it afterwards
Okay.
and said, I guess I didn't
All right, thank you.
save that change.
Yep, good. The next one we have is the ARPA expense report, which looks at, this one that looks like this.
Yeah.
If you saw this in your package, Joy, it looks like this. This is what I've asked Bradley to try and run for us again, and we're not going to do this monthly, but I think quarterly would be good to know, just in terms of how people are spending down the ARPA money. And as you remember, each grant that we have approved for ARPA, we've assigned a purchase order number to it. So that number should be visible in these reports, so we can tie it back easily to the approval that was done. There's a couple of 2-3 pages at the very beginning, which is all the premium pay. That was many names of people that were involved in that. That's probably 3 pages worth. And then the next couple pages had some of the other funds that have been spent out for some of the other grants on this. And I think I'm going to try and work with Bradley to see if we can make this still even a little bit more user-friendly. I'm gathering this is what kind of comes out of our financial system, which may have, information that's more useful to his office than it is for us, and maybe we can figure out a way to make this a little bit easier for us to read and understand how well people are doing with their grants of money and how well they're spending down on things here. But that's just an idea that we wanted to do, to have a separate accounting for the ARPA money, so that it's not all mixed in and something that we have to drag out later on, which will be very time consuming. So this would list the warrant number as well as the purchase order number. So this really does tell us, who's been starting to spend on their money. Okay. I guess, Ed, the one question I had of Bradley, and I don't think I heard back from when it comes under name and it says blank vendor, what, is that just something from the system that spits it out? I mean, why is that?
Yes, exactly.
Blank vendor.
And it depends on whether you're looking at a payroll warrant or a vendor payable warrant. For example, on the vendor payable warrants, for a lot of those blank vendors, you'll see the reason is because it was actually a reclassification or shall we say, a correction to a warrant.
Okay, yeah. No, that's true, yeah.
And then on the payroll warrants, it's reversed for some reason. The names appear on the left-hand side and shows blank vendor on the right-hand side, where if that was a vendor warrant, it would show the name of the vendor on the right-hand side, so.
Okay, so that's what I mean. Maybe we can make this be a little bit more clear, so that if anybody wants to know, grant X, who are the vendors that they used to do their grant, we ought to be able to sort of see that easier. And maybe it's more in a, converting it to an Excel format or something, but we'll try and make it so it's not onerous on Bradley to do.
And then, one other piece of the puzzle is from what we run off what is charged to at least school wages, because they use summary accounts on some of them rather than the actual name is if it was a payroll to a wage in the school system, it shows up blank.
Okay. So anyway, just to say, we're trying to put a system in place to account for ARPA as we go, so we don't have to go back and try to figure it out later. So I think we're making some progress here, but can still do a little tinkering to make it a little bit more user-friendly, perhaps. Okay?
Good.
All right. Good. Next then, East Street Bridge. Want to tell us what's happening for the ceremony, per se?
So far, we've had acceptances from Senator Velas, Representative Sabadosa, and Representative Pease. A number of our department heads that were invited that had a lot to do with the project have accepted, are going to be there. We have not heard a response back if someone will be here from Mass Works itself yet or not. But the ceremony is planned for November 3rd, which is a Thursday at 11:30 at the site of the bridge.
Okay.
And we put it off a little bit because MIG is still doing some work out there and some landscaping work, so they still have some equipment that is staged out there from time to time, and we wanted to make sure it was relatively easy to park and stage the ceremony.
Okay. Good. Well, looking forward to that. I think people have been enjoying going across the bridge, and we can do an official acceptance of it anyway. So
yes,
it's great.
And they did get the permanent striping down last week, like they
I saw that,
thought they would. So that has been done.
Yeah, no, it looks great. Okay, very good. All right, let's move on to the ARPA applications and decision tracker update here. So we have a couple ones that we wanted to come back to that we now have supplemental information on, and then I believe we have 2 new ones to look at. So let's see. Just one thing I think on the tracker itself, the application tracker that Judy keeps, I think I may not have given her the information, but we had approved the $75,000 for the public safety complex feasibility study. That had been approved in, I'm thinking it was the end of August, but we'll have to double check the date of which meeting that was. But we had actually approved it. She didn't have that checked on her, so we'd have to do them in a word letter. Okay. So on the current ones, I think we've got 2 things. If we go to the negative economic impact ones, we have still, the only one 2 that we've approved have been McHale's Coffee and Bashista's Orchards. We still have security and fire integration, which I don't know if we've heard anything from them. Have we, Ed?
I have not. I will give them a call again tomorrow.
I would move that we deny that request, especially now that they've relocated outside jurisdiction of the town.
They have, actually. We know that. Yeah.
Trucks are all parked down in front of the gas station. But nonetheless, I believe the town administrator has already communicated that he has reached out to them at least 3 times.
Yeah.
And failed to respond. I mean, we can't leave it open forever. They're free to reapply.
Yeah, I mean, I personally would think that, they have not had any real communication back and forth with us, and I think it was pretty clear what we were hoping for them to do, right?
Yes.
So
and give me a couple minutes. The Finance Committee can't get into the Zoom meeting because they need a PIN code. So
okay.
I will be there.
All right. So what I'm hearing is maybe on this one, let me just get to my right page here, sorry. Because we've had this, let me just look at my master sheet here. We've had this since, well, I don't have the date when it actually came in. It was on Judy's list. Anybody have that?
I don't see a date here.
On the application one that Judy sent out? Anyway, we've had it for quite a while. We picked it up in August, and we picked it up again at the end of September, and we definitely didn't have enough information, and we wanted to hear more from them, and we still hadn't heard anything. And certainly, I think if indeed they are or are thinking of leaving town, that would, in my mind, disqualify them. This should only be for Southampton businesses. So at this point in time.
So I'll make a motion to deny for lack of feedback and the fact that they appear to have relocated outside the jurisdiction of Southampton.
All right. Could I have a second on that?
I'll second.
Okay. Any further discussion? All right. And as you say, I mean, they're free to, if they still are here and they want to reapply, they certainly are free to do that.
Makes sense, yes.
But, I think we've...
Make the motion without prejudice.
Yeah,
You're free
I
to.
mean, it's been a couple months now with no communication, so I think we're ready to move on. So at this point in time, we'll take a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. All right, I hear 4
I'm keeping the
ayes.
notes read.
Sorry?
I got the notes going
Okay,
read.
very good. 4 ayes. So at this point in time, we will no longer consider that proposal. All right. Next one down was from Good Eats to Go. If you recall last meeting, we had Betsy Hopkins come in and talk to us about her business, and in your packages, especially the piece that Ed handed out just right tonight, she had sent an email that we had trouble opening, but this was her, the COVID impact statement that we had asked her to clarify. And so if you've had a chance to read that, or if you need a minute to read that.
Yeah, I think she responded to the application and the question appropriately in this document.
In the letter, you mean?
Yes.
Okay. But we can file the attachment, with the application so that we
Right,
have
but
the whole thing.
It was really about the impact, and
Right.
this does detail that.
Okay. All right. Any other thoughts or comments about that? No? Did you find that, Joy? Was it
No, I didn't.
The little part that Ed handed out tonight.
Oh, okay.
It's an email.
It's an email, basically.
Oh, it's an
Text of an email.
All right, I will find
Here, you can
it.
borrow mine.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Or that. So, yeah, I mean, I think we wanted to understand more how the business, because it had opened up during COVID as a drive-through business, how that had been impacted by the pandemic. And I think she not only provided us with all sorts of invoices for the kinds of things that she was looking to use the money for, but also put in further justification for the business. Just give Joy a second to read through it, if that's okay.
So since there's no motion on the floor,
Yeah.
I will be open to hearing whoever makes the motion, the wording of it, just reminding folks that previously when we've gone outside of town departments, we've been restrictive on, this isn't just like a lump sum payment.
Right.
You have to show things and then we release the funds as we go along. Whether that applies here or not, I don't know. I just believe we should be consistent
Right.
with past practice.
Yeah, and I think here, because of what she's had in her package to us, we've had various quotes for the various, like I say, the various pieces of equipment and things that she needs to purchase and so forth. So I think that should be doable, to be able to provide some level of justification for.
Yeah, that puts, when I look at this, Ed, versus what she gave us in terms of what she called a growth plan, this is really, I think, a recovery plan. So I just wish there were some dollar amounts associated with what the losses might have been in total. I know she gave us some
In the
documentation
previous-
before,
Yeah,
yes.
I think and it may still be in tonight's
Did it, if
package.
it added up to all of that, or was it that plus what it was going to cost to recover?
Oh, I think it might have been plus, actually,
Business,
but.
okay.
I know in some of the previous correspondence, some of it was for back wages not taken,
Right, yeah,
which
yeah,
becomes delicate.
right.
Yeah.
We're turning over grant money for wages and who's responsible for the payroll taxes.
Yeah. But I mean, I think all of that is still doable. And yeah, she did break down the budget in her original
Yeah.
proposal,
Yeah,
Francine.
I
So it
did
was
see
everything
that.
from some promotion, website promotion, et cetera, a part-time employee, a prep station,
Right.
et cetera.
Right, but I'm looking at the loss, the impact.
Right.
So I'll start the discussion. I'll make a motion. The individual requested a total of $24,495. I would make a motion to break that into 2 buckets. The first bucket being $10,000 for loss of revenue related to COVID, and that $14,495 be available for offset expenses, i.e. go and hire that employee or buy that kitchen prep table. And, you know, where's the invoice? And you can draw off that $14,495.
Okay. And is there anything more that you would want for the loss of revenue part, the 10?
Well, I started at 10, but you're...
Right. No, I mean, in terms of the paperwork justification.
Oh, no, I think she's submitted enough
Okay.
documentation to justify the $10,000
Okay.
for lost revenue.
Got it. Understood. Okay, that's helpful.
Okay, I'll second that. I think it's a good plan.
Okay, all right. Any other comments about that? Joy? anything?
No, I'm in agreement.
Okay, all right. Sounds like people like the wording of that, John. You're a good wordsmith tonight, so I think we're ready to vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Okay.
4, and Reni's absent, so 4 approved. Good. All right, one more down. The next one, I think I'll wait a second till Ed comes back on this other one because he's been involved in the Parks one. Hopefully he will be right back. So the other one we had was, we can start talking about it a little bit, I guess, just not to waste time. We had one from the Parks Commission. Let's see, this was for the tennis court repair, tennis court surface repair, and they'd originally asked for, just to recap our memories here and my memory, they'd actually asked for $38,000 early on, and that was based on an old cost estimate from a Vermont vendor over a year ago, at the same time that the pickleball courts were being built. They put in a quote for how they would resurface the tennis courts at the same time. And then that was at around $32,000, I believe, at the time, and the Parks Commission decided to put in a $6,000 figure to just, I guess, cushion themselves in terms of cost of materials and so forth on that. Thanks, Ed. All set with finance?
Yes,
Okay.
sorry about that.
That's okay. We've approved goodies to go in two separate buckets, and we'll get you that wording.
Okay.
And we're just starting to talk about the tennis court repair. And we motion to not consider the security and fire any longer.
Okay.
They can reapply if they'd like to. So the cost estimate had been proposed to it, it's at $38,000. We had asked for more specificity, not just an assumption of what the cost might be, and especially since the costing that they originally had was already a year old. So I know, Ed, you've been involved in this, and we do have in our packets tonight, and again, in that little stuff that you handed out right at the beginning of the meeting.
Yes.
We have a one-page proposal from VT, and this is for the surface repair of the tennis courts.
It would repair the cracks in the basketball and tennis court areas. Would be, in its entirety, it would resurface them and repaint the lines. And then in the last, just to be clear, where you see my handwriting at the bottom where it says supply and install one complete set of pickleball lines. The tennis court that's closest to the basketball court has been lined for pickleball also and is still used.
Yeah.
And you can fit one pickleball court on each side of the tennis court net. Someone had asked me to make sure that those lines would be replaced. So they're $450 a set, so that's 2 sets for a total of $900. So for everything here, including those, it would be $21,611.
Wow.
That's good.
Now that shows the value of going out for invoices here. Go ahead, John.
So they asked for 38 and they had increased it by 6. So the original quote was 32.
32.
Now we can do everything plus 2 extra pickleball court lining at $450 a piece for $21,611.
And here's my thought process on that is,
Wow.
the original one would have been done as an additional cost over the original contract from building the pickleball courts. So let's just say there was a general contractor, a middle person involved. We all know they use markups. So I am thinking that is well, it took me a while to get my head around this, and I really wanted to make sure. I think that's why we're seeing the difference here.
So the contractor may have gone to them to get the quote last time.
They did.
Did last time.
Yeah.
I got it. Okay.
And if this is awarded, is it too late in the season to do it now? Is this going to be a spring project?
I was talking to them today because they threw me a curb yesterday, and she said, if you let me know ASAP, we're doing the lines this week. So I emailed her back and said, because I thought it was late in the year for the crack repair and resurfacing. And today she got back to me and she said, I had forgotten you had that other quote sitting out there. She goes, no. She goes, yeah, we do it all at once. And she goes, right now, she says, get back to me as soon as you can because we're actually starting to schedule for next summer.
Okay.
So understanding that it's going to be done in the summer, which would be the summer of '23.
They're probably in the spring, right? No? Would
They said summer, so I'm guessing this is
They're
probably
booking out.
going to be end of June-ish type of stuff, beginning of July.
Yeah.
And that price would still hold until then?
If we sign.
Yep. If we sign,
Yeah.
or if you give me authority to sign.
Yeah. So that's about $17,000 less than the original ask.
Well,
Great.
32, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's almost,
Well,
about
from
a-
38 here.
Yeah, about 11.
yeah.
You know,
Because, the park commission just assumed that, there would have been an escalation clause
Yeah, so-
on it. So built in, a percentage increase.
I guess, just one thought here. Just look at on the proposal, the job. It says Conant Park Basketball Court.
Yes,
Right.
I
So
saw that
let's
too.
be sure
yeah.
that they're not just focusing on only the basketball court.
They know,
Yeah?
they know.
Well, the detail here.
Okay. I just hope that
The plain
it
stone.
really is for the tennis courts and the basketball.
Well,
Well, it sounds like tennis courts are going to be item number 2.
Yeah.
Total area to receive 1 coat of blacktop because the top portion is going to get 2 coats.
Yeah,
And then they're going to do the lines, step 3. Right?
right.
The $16,000 is the basketball court. The $3,900 is the, I'm assuming pickleball court, or a section there, of which
But the-
then they'll print
No,
down the
that's the
lines.
repair of
No,
the tennis
900 is for
court.
the pickleball lines.
This is, yeah. The only pickleball thing would be for the lines for $900.
So,
I'm just trying to see where the repair of the tennis court, well, it's up here.
They're all in there.
It's there.
Yeah, because they had us measure the linear feet of cracks.
Yeah.
okay.
So a motion to approve the use of up to $25,000 for the Vermont recreational proposal dated 10/25/2022, and to authorize the town administrator to execute any documents required to do so.
Okay,
Can I have a second?
I'll second that.
All right. And just to clarify, your
I'm just giving a buffer in
little
case there's a
buffer?
problem.
Okay.
Knowing that it's going to be done this summer, and we'll have time to reappropriate those funds if need be.
Okay, all right. Any questions about that? Is that okay? All right, no questions? Let's go ahead and vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, motion approved.
I don't disagree with Chris, though, if we could get them to insert the basketball court / tennis
And
court.
tennis courts, yeah. I was just like,
I'd feel
that's a
a
little,
little more comfortable.
seems like it would protect us a little more if they wrote tennis
Yes.
courts up at the top under the job as well.
Yep.
It's a little sketchy. Alrighty-o. Next two, we have, Ed, are we ready on the financial software one yet? Or is this just information in terms of the Vadar and Springbok? Do we have a final decision on these?
Just stuff in here on vape.
Well, we've got Vadar and the Springbok proposals, which,
I asked Judy to put in all the pending ones rather than just specific ones. So, yeah, it's just information.
so we're not ready to vote on that yet. We
No.
haven't made a final decision on which financial system yet, correct?
Correct.
All right, then we have two new ones, which are, again, from the Park Commission. Let's see, and this is to develop a master plan for Conant Park. And they proposed a contract with GZA Services to analyze Conant Park's current use, come up with a cohesive design for in-progress improvements and future improvements, help plan in future capital improvements, and improve outdoor recreation, et cetera. They're asking for $8,000 for the master plan for Conant Park to be done.
And the benefit of doing this is to, in theory, prepare ourselves in the event that we seek grant money.
Yeah, exactly, because I think a lot of the grant programs are asking, you know, what's the overall plan here? Like, I know, for example, they want to get new playground equipment, and it's like, well, but, you know, have you figured out where that really belongs and all that kind of stuff? I guess one question I've got, I mean, this seems to be one that would be a typical one for CPC to look at.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming they came to us because they thought it would be quicker? Maybe? I mean, without having to go to a town meeting.
Well, here's why they came with this, and this is just from my conversations with Dylan and Dan, is they want to approach CPC for the funding for the actual playground equipment. However, me being me, at one of their meetings, I looked at them and said, well, you know, wasn't it suggested that you do a park master plan for all this stuff to get it in the right place and whatever? And they weren't too thrilled with me, but Dylan and I seem to have a pretty decent rapport going, even though we have little different ideas from time to time. So the reason they're asking for here is they would like to get that master plan study done for Conant Park, because they know the questions are going to come up, whether it be CPC, town meeting, or what have you, whether it be for playground equipment or for other things. So, they asked me at the time, they said, can we apply for ARPA funds for this? I goes, I can't say no. I goes, and my patent response sometimes is the fact that, okay, well, if you don't ask, the answer is always no. So at least ask. But I do know that, shall we say, the motivation is to try to get the park master plan done so that it has been done and everything is in place for the request to the CPC for the actual playground equipment.
Gives them a stronger argument with CPC, in other words. I mean, it would give them a stronger argument.
Well, I mean, like I say, if anybody asks the questions of, well, how do we know, you're putting this in the, in the right place, or, what have you, this should be a helping hand in that direction.
Okay.
How does this intersect with didn't we give CPC money for the splash pad to look into the feasibility for that? How does that intersect with this?
That's already, well, go ahead. You know that more than I do.
Actually, it was when the individual from the state was actually out here doing the site visit for our application for that park grant, that it was that individual that kind of hinted to us that we probably really should do a master plan for Conant Park. It was actually one of the reasons we were surprised we got that, but two separate projects. You know, it was probably the first poke in the side or whatever that said, okay, if we're going to be looking, you know, whether it's for state grants in the future or whatever, we really need that master plan in place. I mean, it probably won't set everything in stone, but it's going to be a good guidance point in the future if somebody comes up with, well, you know, what about putting this in Conan Park or putting that in Conan Park? So, you know, we will have, shall we say, a good summary of what probably would be liked in Conan Park and where it might be appropriate to fit.
Yeah, and I think the other program is actually ongoing. I mean, they're working with the engineer to figure out that design now, so that it's
Correct.
separate.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay. Any other questions about that? Okay, could we have a motion? Yep, go ahead, Francine.
Okay, I'll move to approve the ARPA application from the Parks Commission in the amount of $8,000 to pay for the completion of a master plan of Conan Park.
Second.
All right. Any further discussion? If not, can I have a vote, please? All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion approved. Thank you. All right, and then the last one I have tonight, I believe, let's see, is again from the Water Department. And this, okay, Ed, you may have to help me out here. This is part of one that we had approved early on. We have a long stretch of water main to be replaced from, I believe it's 6-inch water main to 12-inch water main, going from Fulmer Road to Clark Street is phase 1, Clark Street to East Street, and then East Street to Pomeroy Meadow Road. And each of those phases has got a price tag on them. We had, the total price tag at the time was, I think we had been told around $1.8 million.
Right.
And we had voted at that time to give them just 10% of that, so $180,000 has been approved for that. We had another meeting with the Water Commission last week and talked about other things, but this included in terms of what their thinking was, because we had seen that they came back with a second one. So basically the way that I think we were talking the other night was helping them out with phase 1. So that total cost is $604,000 is phase 1. We have already given them $180,000. They have $265,000 of their own that they are going to invest in that. And so the balance is what really, even though they've asked for the $1.6 million here, which is the entire program, I think they did that, you know, originally thinking that hardly anybody else would apply for these funds, but that's not true.
So I guess a point of order first.
Yes, go ahead.
This sounds like a motion to reconsider under Robert's rules and not a new item, and therefore.
I'm not sure if it's a reconsider or a second grant. Could be, yeah, I guess. Whatever you want to call it, yes.
Is this a new application, or is this the same application that we already voted on?
It's a new application.
It's a new application, technically. I mean, it came in separately as a new date on it, got a new number on it and everything, yeah. It's the same information, pretty much. So I'm not sure how we want to call it, but I was looking at the 180 is already dealt with. We had heard that they might want to come back to us and do some, exchange of that money toward the Manhattan River Bridge, et cetera, et cetera. That is null and void. That is not the proposal at all. So they clarified for us the other night what they were trying to do was just to be able to get funds available to get first phase started, and then they would be going out, I guess, for bonds, right, for the other phases, Ed, as well as maybe other grant money or whatever they could find.
Correct.
At that point in time, is what I was understanding from our meeting the other night.
Yeah.
Didn't they receive some grant money already towards phase 1? Because I thought we discussed the 180,000, and then they had received some grant funds, and then they were looking to get the rest for the first phase.
They have $265,000 of their own funds coming from their retained earnings or somewhere, I believe, right?
Okay,
That's what
and
they
then
had told us.
the 180,
So
and then they were looking for the rest.
The difference for this phase one
yeah.
would be 159,000 additional, and that would be it.
Right, to make up the 604.
That would be the end of it for any ARPA money. That they would go out to do the bonding for the other two phases, is what I'm understanding from them. So that's what I think we heard the other night. I mean, again, they came in with the notion of the $1.6 million, which, we told them was not obviously possible. So, any thoughts or discussion, you guys that were at the meeting? I know, John, you weren't at the meeting the other night, but.
No, for the record, I watched the meeting in anticipation of what was going to happen tonight, so
Okay.
I'm up to speed on
Okay.
the discussion that was had.
Yep.
And I would suggest any citizen out there that didn't, to go actually watch that meeting, because it was very enlightening into the practices of our water department. And perhaps I would indicate their inability to look into the future has caused this past road to happen. For example, during the meeting, they indicated that when my colleague Maureen raised the question about the moratorium and capacity, they didn't discuss housing capacity. They immediately went to their own individual capacity, and now they have plans to expand. We still don't have any idea what the current capacity of the existing system and how many houses that can handle, the fact that we're going through 10% growth rates here in the town. And over the past 50 years, we have more than doubled our population in town, and we're still on the same water system. And 6-inch mains need to be repaired, but our water rates are cheaper than what we're getting from Easthampton. So that begs the question, are we charging the correct rates to increase our reserves so we don't have to go out to the ratepayers consistently for this?
Well, I know they've
And
just.
none of those questions were answered.
They've recently upped their rates, I believe, in the last few months, have they not?
Couple pennies. I mean, I think there needs to be a bigger question. I mean, the fact is yes, we have the drought, and yes, when Easthampton puts the drought in, we have to put the drought in, but Easthampton has the mill rates, and, watching the meeting, I would just beg the question, why are we, I don't know the answer, and this is more for cost efficiency, but why are we fighting so hard to maintain a separate standalone water department when it sounds like from the senior member of that committee, Joe, we could even be buying from Northampton? Why aren't we outsourcing to Easthampton or Northampton instead of trying to duplicate a highly expensive system where we're paying six-figure salaries for the same job that's being done in the community next door to us that we're already tied into? What if we just gave them control of our well and said, you handle it, you bill us accordingly? It's not a discussion for tonight, but before we start raising bond rates and taxing 70 to 80% of the users in this town, where we can't even get an answer of, if we don't enhance our system, what is our building capacity now? Or are we going to continue to issue permits and build throughout the community to the point where we have no choice but to expand and spend millions of dollars on our infrastructure system?
Yeah, I mean, the way that I heard it the other night was that there was not a concern on their part about the capacity.
But did you get an answer? Did you get an answer to how many? Oh, I'm sorry, you're going in a different direction.
No, it was capacity, and just in terms of what they were able to get from Easthampton, as well as, I believe, from.
But we were able to draw from our own.
Right, that's right.
Correct.
Yeah.
Because the capacity coming from Easthampton, though, is at a pass-through with no upcharge, where water that we pull out of our own system and we sell to the residents of the town, there's an upcharge on there, and that upcharge is meant to pay for this infrastructure. So it's a chicken or an egg thing. We have to increase our infrastructure in order to sustain those rates, or do we just abandon the business and the 2.5 employees that are there and go over to the city system? And I'm not suggesting we do that, but before we start throwing more money behind this.
Yeah, well, it may be worth a discussion at cost efficiencies, like you say, to have one of them come and talk to us about that, maybe at cost efficiencies, more in detail. But I think this, what they were hoping for was to be able to make a decision on this so that they could then, I'm forgetting where I saw this, but there was something in the proposal about their being able to they could bid it out by the end of the year and have construction starting in the spring of '23 with at least a phase of it done, relatively quickly. But they would have to go to town meeting and whatever else for the rest of the money, obviously. But this would be to get them started on phase 2, which would be less that they would have to borrow out and charge back to the taxpayers. So the way I hear it, the balance of, if we were to think about this, would be the balance of phase 1, which would be $159,000. So we can,
Can I ask how much ARPA funding we have left after we've just approved 1, 2, 3 applications? How much ARPA funding would we have left?
oh, okay, let me
Or
just
4
pull
up,
that.
yeah.
Yep. Well, these are small, I didn't add it in as we go, but tonight, but we had, before we started tonight, we had about 689,000 available, and we've just done 25, we've just done 50. We don't have the, and 21, or no, 25, we've just done 50 more.
And
So
then
that's
then what we picked up, the 35 from, add that back in,
35 from,
from the
oh, yes,
the one we,
from the one that we are not going to approve,
Yes.
yeah. So we're still somewhere in that,
Okay.
say, 650-ish range right now, but we know that we've got a big cost probably for the financial software. And that's probably the next biggest one that we have.
And how much do we anticipate using to plug the budget for next year, like we did last year?
For,
Well, I mean, last year's budget, right, we plugged it with ARPA money. So if we spend it all now without even looking at the budgets, and if we're not concerned about that, let's just give all the money to the water department and we'll deal with this day of reckoning in 2 years. But I'm serious, you know, I know.
yeah. No, I mean, I guess I was looking at it from a time perspective too, in terms of their being able to bid out this phase early on this year.
And again, I go back to earlier comments that I made during our budget process, is the fact that the water department has reserve funds that are sitting in our treasury, collecting 1/10 of a basis point, when currently that money could be invested in treasury notes at 90 days, or 3 to 9 months, and it's getting 6% interest, and we're sitting there. We're asleep at the wheel on so many fronts here.
Yeah.
We can't just keep throwing the ARPA money in here because it's going to run out.
Okay,
That being said, we need water, so.
yeah. Well, there's no question that these water mains need breaking, need breaking, yeah. They need breaking, they need
Need
replacing.
fixing.
The one at East Street already has had a major break apparently recently. So this would be just to get it from Fulmer Road to Clark Street is the way I understand it at this point. That's what our money would go towards, and the rest of it, they would still have to figure out. So there's time to still ask those questions, which I think are all very valid. I don't know how we deal with the investment portion. I mean, I guess that goes back and forth with the treasurer, right? In terms of where we find our investment policy and what we're able to do as a municipality. I mean, I'm sure there must be some level of restrictions in terms of how much we can.
There are.
It's either the legal list or the prudent person or Mass General Law. The question is which one's been adopted by the town. And if neither one, then you have to go by the legal list, which allows treasuries. And the treasuries are trading right now at 6.95%. 90 days, general fund money can only be invested under 364 days, which this qualifies as. Actually, this is enterprise money.
Yeah.
Enterprise money can be beyond 365 if we ever set up the funds, but it's, again, allocating the time and the resources to that department to allow them to do it. Right now, that department's running short shift. I don't hold anything against the current department head.
Correct, yeah.
You know, it's what they inherited in their short shift, and we had a resignation from that office earlier tonight. But all these things which trickle back to wage and benefits
Right.
continues to penalize us.
Okay. All right, well, are we ready to have a motion on this, or do we want to think about this, or where are we with this?
they needed, I had the impression they needed something from us as soon as possible. An answer. Am I right? In order to move, this had to be done by the end of December.
Well, it would allow them to
Take it
go
to
out.
town meeting.
It would allow them to actually go out for bid, apparently, on at least the first phase of it, is the way I understood it. Am I correct on that, Ed?
That was my understanding, yes.
That would allow them to get the process going so that in the spring, they could actually start the work. That was how I understood it, so. So, yeah, so that would, if we did that, that would take us down to say 500,000-ish. Say around 500,000 left after that. I don't have the exact figure. I'm not plugging in my figures here as I go, but it would be around that.
Are they asking for an additional 265 or the 265 minus what we already approved?
No,
like
the phase one is 604.
604, so minus their
So they're asking for
265,000 minus the 180,000, we already approved them. So
Yeah.
the difference would be
If you look at the
159,000.
last page of their application, I think they had a phase, after their map thing. There's a phase, yeah, right after that. So we're just talking about phase one. So out of the 604 total cost for phase one, we've already given them 180. They have 265 to add to that. So the difference to the 604 is 159,000. So 604 minus 180 minus 265, right?
159,000.
159?
150, yeah.
All right. All right. Would anybody like to make a motion?
I move to award 159,000 to the water department for their phase one College Highway replacement of the water mains.
We have a second?
I'll second.
All right. Any further discussion? This would effectively be a second grant to them, the way it's coming to us at least. I mean, sort of for the same purpose, but, yeah. Okay. All right, if no further discussion, shall we take a vote? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Okay, 3-1. All right. Motion carries. All right. Thank you. All right, I think that takes care of ARPA for tonight. That's all I know, unless I'm missing anybody. So Ed, let's go back briefly to the Assistant Town Accountant update. Where are we?
Have not received any more qualified applicants as of yesterday.
Okay. Now, we had at least one or two that had been interviewed, right? And at least one that was possibly,
The two that were interviewed, one decided that they weren't interested in the position.
okay,
There's another candidate that is finishing schooling, has the, shall we say, the practicality from the schooling, but no business experience or professional experience in accounting.
okay.
That was interviewed? They were interviewed?
Yes.
And is there any reason not to move forward with that person?
I was hoping to get some better qualified candidates that actually had experience, but they, like I say, we have not received any.
I say this tongue in cheek, but I didn't realize we were up to $35 an hour for the job.
The what?
$35 an hour for the job. We're not, right?
No.
So
Yeah.
people are applying for what we're posting and willing to pay for the job.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Well, and is there anything to say that this could not be an entry-level position working with Bradley? I mean, and learning on the job?
There's nothing to say that, no.
I mean, I guess my concern, honestly, just after we went through last year with such vacancies, and we've had, what, July, August, September, October now, 4 months with no one. I mean, I guess I'm not sure that we're going to attract anybody else, or if we are thinking we want to. I mean, I know you said you were moving it up on the Indeed list or something, so it came up to the top of the list or whatever.
Correct.
But at a minimum, I think we need to give ourselves a timeline, like maybe another 2 weeks. And if we have nothing, I mean, I don't know, but
I want to be careful. Only in that the select board should not be deciding this hiring policy. I mean, we can express our frustration.
Yeah.
And my frustration is how much extra do we pay for the audits to get up where we are? 30, 40, 50,000?
yeah,
do we want to repeat that?
No.
And we appointed the department head and we appointed the town administrator, and we have to trust them to do it and make the right decision and honor that, but
Yeah.
we need to see movement, one way or the
Yeah, I
other.
agree.
And honestly, I mean, just listening to the news or reading the newspaper, I mean, everyone is just, I mean, I'm not saying we should settle, but honestly, I think people are having to take a kind of a different view on the potential of people coming in, because you're not going to find the perfect candidate anymore. I think everything is really difficult.
Yep, and I think if we roll the dice on if they decide to roll the dice on an individual, that we support that. But as quick as we are to hire, we should be as quick to separate if it turns out to be a bad hire.
Well, somebody would be on a 90-day, is it right?
90-day probation?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probation. And was this, well, you can tell us later. So this was one of the two that was actually interviewed, though, and might still be interested, but we don't even know if this person is even available still, right? Or
As of about 10 days to 2 weeks ago, they were still available.
okay.
That's scary.
All right. Well, I guess, I mean, my thought would be that, we'd ask you to take it back with Bradley and discuss it and see what you think. And, I guess we're all concerned about not having a long vacancy. I know we really do need to have that position filled, and in 4 months already, I don't want to drag it out too long here. So if maybe we can have some update by the next meeting in terms of what your thinking is on that, and,
Okay.
pros and cons, whatever maybe, but I agree. I don't know that we're going to find the magic person and anybody out there. If it's been out there that long and we still aren't dragging in more than 2 or 3 or 4 candidates, then I think that's the name of the game right now, unfortunately. So I don't want us to, wait forever and ever, okay?
All right.
All right, so let's hope, we'll put it back in your hands, but maybe come back to us in the next meeting in 2 weeks and fill us in on that, okay? All right, let's move on to the draft FY21 audit report. We have a management letter and we have the actual audit draft report. Ed, you want to give a brief overview and then we can maybe go with questions or what we need to do here?
I've only had a chance to go through it briefly, so I have parceled out the comments for responses to the town accountant and the treasurer collector to draft those responses.
And when do they due back? Is there a timeline or?
Yes, before the next select board meeting.
Okay. All right.
So we'll see it before it goes out. We'll see the responses.
What's that?
Having it done before the next select board meeting, meaning that we will see the responses before it goes out.
If that's what you want.
I mean, that was my impression from what you just said.
Because we're meeting again on the 10th? Thereabouts? Yeah, something like that. I mean, I don't remember what we did last year. You guys just went ahead and responded and we got the copy of the draft report afterwards, is that it?
That's usually what we have done, but
Okay.
I can delay it so that.
No.
Okay, no. I mean,
no.
but the idea is it's a chicken and the egg piece, Francine. Do they come back and we send them to the auditors and bring them here at the same time, or do we bring them here and then send them to the auditors the next day? So it's.
I wasn't intending.
It's not a, shall we say, in my opinion, not a time delay in either way.
Yeah. I do think, though, I mean, these are, for lack of a better term, accusations or charges that are being brought by the outside auditors, and I think the finance team or the town side needs to respond to it, and the select board should stay neutral on it. And see, because perhaps in the responses, the outside auditors will say, yep, we agree with that, and we note that, or no, here's the lack. I mean, there are some troubling things in here, that things from fiscal year 2018 have yet to be addressed, at least as of the writing of this letter, the way it's worded. The town response hopefully will disagree with that. So I don't think we need to, because even if we see the responses, we shouldn't then be debating with the town side as whether
Correct.
that's
Yeah,
the
no, I agree
appropriate
with
answer
that.
to give.
Yeah, we don't have that input on that.
No, we don't have the expertise. No, the impression I was getting is that he said that they would be done before the next select board meeting, and my question then was, does that mean we'll see them?
We
That
won't-
they were
Right, so-
completing them so that we would have an opportunity at the next meeting to see it.
Right. So that I agree with, that we be
Okay.
made aware of whatever the town responses are, but not hold up the actual submittal.
No.
Right, no,
of the
no,
responses.
You always see them.
Yeah,
We don't hide them.
yeah. And are you saying, though, that you would want Finance Committee to have a meeting also to talk about this? Is that what you're saying?
I leave that in the town administrator's hands.
Okay, I wasn't hearing what you're saying. I wasn't sure when Finance was meeting since they haven't met lately, so I didn't know. Again, I just didn't
Yeah,
want to.
that I don't know, but I don't think the select board as a body should
Yeah,
be wordsmithing
right.
the responses.
No, totally agree, totally agree. Yeah, so maybe, I don't know if, just to note the main things are over cash and receivables. Improve the controls in, over budgeted amounts that are reported in the general ledger, and this is something related to 2018 with some water projects issued there, apparently, that the accounts had not been created as soon as the project was appropriated, so that maybe didn't get posted correctly or something along those lines. Need to record votes on the tax recap so that they're clearly stated. Need to improve the timeliness of trust fund cash transfers.
And we believe that one, we're going to do some research on it. That one may be on the general ledger side. We think it may be tied to what we had, which would be considered trust funds, that was actually the volunteer fire departments that we transferred
We moved it out.
back to them, so.
That's correct, yeah, right. And then to reconcile the overlay account with the assessor's office and adopt maybe a formal OPEB trust declaration of trust document. So those are the main.
Which is one of the new requirements.
Right, so those are about half a dozen points to respond to from the management letter, okay? All right. Anything within the document itself, the financial statements themselves, I've only gotten through part of it myself, I must say, I haven't gone through all of it.
Always fun to go through the actual
it is.
financial
Well,
statements, it's so thick.
It's so thick and it always seems so repetitive in some ways,
Yes.
as you read each section, it's like, wait a minute, I read this already. So I don't know that I have any particular questions here, but I honestly have not had a chance to totally read it. I guess one question I had, I know at one point last year we were dealing without having an accountant or an assistant accountant in place, we were at risk at some point of losing our credit rating. Did that go away, our Moody's rating and whatever we had for our credit rating was Standard & Poor or whoever here?
It will when they get this as a finalized document. They're currently waiting for, they got last year as the 20, and now they're waiting for the 21.
Okay, so with that, we would have a new credit rating? Is that what you're saying? Or?
They'll only rate every few years, but I don't know if they'll re-rate it right away after receiving this.
I think the issue comes up is, should we try to issue new debt? Between now and when this gets filed, they will not honor the existing rating that we have. So if we get this on file and then go for debt,
Yeah.
then we, whatever our rating is, and then, as the TA says, there's a schedule on when,
Okay.
or you can request a re-rating.
You can,
I don't think we're there.
request to be re-rated
Yeah.
too.
But I mean, had they actually pulled our rating or no? No, okay. Okay. All right. Does anybody have any questions? I mean, John, do you have anything in particular?
I don't have any questions. It's just a matter of practice, as we did last time. I assume when this is in final version, Melanson Heath will actually come down here for a presentation and Q&A at that point.
Yep.
Yeah, right, okay. All right. Good. All right, so we will assume that you guys will handle the responses, and then once we have a final report, we will have the auditors in to go through it with us, yeah? Okay. Francine, anything?
No,
Okay, Joy?
No.
I'm trying to figure out what the actuarial report is.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
All right.
Your retirees.
No, I don't understand, yes. Looking at
Okay, all right,
whether we can cover it or not.
moving on. Okay, next on new business, let's see where we at. CARES accountability.
Yes, and I've been working with the state because originally they wanted $450,000 or $70,000 back from our CARES funds. So I had missed one of the reports. So I've been working with them on that, and we did have to return some funds, which is $112,000. But of that, I still have to do some final work to dot the i's and cross the t's. What I have is that actually we hadn't programmed $27,375 of the original
537, I think.
537,
Something like that.
right.
Yeah, there was around, close to 30,000, I think, that we didn't program at all.
Yeah.
So maybe 25.
And then because FEMA went to the 100% instead of the 75 or 25% reimbursement, that was $34,433. There were some late submittals after that were $20,624.83, and then there were costs incurred after the 10/29/2021 CARES state cutoff that they imposed of $33,535.30, which actually totals $115,968.13, which is a little more than the state required from us back. By my accounting, and like I say, I still have a couple days of work to do on this. I'm looking at this, and it appears to me that just about all of those funds we should get reimbursement from FEMA for. That they should all be FEMA reimbursable back to the town. There's about $15,000 in some charges that I got to do some further looking at, but it appears of what the state asked back for us, other than the what we actually didn't program or spend, that we should be able to get like 99.9% back of that from FEMA.
So much of that then ended up being that change from FEMA only covering 25% to now covering 100% of some of that. So what the state had originally approved was no longer approvable by them, essentially.
Right, and one of the hard parts for me that's taking me so much time is, okay, the state, we would have requested funds. They actually broke it down on in their system that, okay, you know, you're requesting $10,000, but 75% of this is going to be reimbursable off FEMA, so we're going to give you credit here for $2,500. And then at one point in time, when FEMA actually changed that to 100%, they just went into the files and removed all your projects that were at 25%. So now I'm going back and saying, okay, what did they actually remove that we had filed for?
So we still have a chance with FEMA to get the money back. Okay.
Correct.
And probably there's a clock ticking on that as well.
There is. So this is my number one priority right now.
All right. Well, on the flip side, I guess I would say that means that we must have programmed around $425,000 worth of CARES funds, thereabouts. If we had around 537 and we had to take back 112. So, which is more than we might have as we started out with that craziness. But I think this just shows how, I think we've learned a lot from the CARES program and starting differently with ARPA to, keep, more clear tracking and just separate costs as we go so they're easier to find rather than having to go dig through piles of warrants and receipts and whatever else.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest pluses is actually putting those, whether you call them PO numbers or project numbers,
right,
on them that have to be submitted with them, because, okay, right off the fact that this is getting submitted against that, that project, and, if somebody's telling you they're spending money on it and you're not seeing it, okay, so what, last time there was a number of, shall we say, departments that actually didn't take the time to put them through on CARES and actually put them through their regular departmental accounts, and then 6 months, 9 months later, that should have, didn't realize that, or didn't have the time time to do it, and can you transfer that now? And then you got to go recreate everything. So
right. Yeah, okay. Well, definitely I agree, high priority, so
yes,
keep chugging on that one, because we definitely don't want to pay the government any more money.
new.
All right, any questions on that? Okay. All right, next up, FY22 audit planning RFP update. So I think you mentioned it's due on the... I had done it in my town administrator's report too. They're due back, they're out, and they are due back to us on November 3rd at 1 p.m. along with the ones from the feasibility study for the Public Safety Building Committee. So I'll just have to make sure that as they come in that we actually put them in the correct piles. Exactly, yeah. Were there a number of groups that asked for the RFP?
I looked back at my last town administrator's report of 2 weeks ago, and there was 6 at that time that had asked. I didn't count them up this time, but I believe there were a couple more entities that did request the packets.
Good, all right. Okay, we'll look forward to hearing about that maybe at our next meeting too, since that'll be after the deadline.
Like I say, they'll all come in back on the 3rd, so right. We'll at least know who's applied.
Right.
And like I say, the team that will go over those proposals and actually evaluate them is John Lumbra, Bradley Oxon, Jennifer Day, and myself. So
sounds good. All right. Okay, next up, possible dates for a special town meeting. What are we thinking? So we are probably into, given election, Thanksgiving, holidays, thinking early December. What does that sound like? I don't know. We'd have to see, obviously, definitely we'd have to be checking with the school to see what's possible. So better late than never to start. Better start now to figure out, well, I guess this would be on a Saturday normally for a town meeting?
Don't we have to work backwards? Like, is it 28 days?
Yeah, so.
So.
Right, so.
November 1st is next Tuesday.
Right. But I think I don't see us getting anything done in November offhand. I mean. But normally we'd do a Saturday evening, right?
What's that?
Normally we'd do a Saturday evening town meeting, or no?
Tuesday.
What am I saying, Saturday?
Yeah. I wish it was Saturday. I've been brought up when they were on Saturdays.
Yeah,
so.
why did I have that in mind? Okay, Tuesday.
Yeah, we can have it on a Saturday.
I'd go for the 6th or the 13th.
Yeah, so the 6th or the 13th would be 2 possibilities in December. 20th might be getting a little close to the holidays, I think.
Yeah, I wouldn't go beyond that.
The 6th is, well, if we stay on our schedule, that's our regular meeting.
That's our regular meeting, I was going to say,
We could meet before.
right.
Yep, 3 o'clock.
Absolutely.
I mean, maybe we could, what do you think? Shall we ask for the 6th and see if the school's got anything else going on, or?
Maybe do the 6th with the 13th as a backup.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Ask for them both at the same
The
time.
6th, with the December 6th with the 13th as a backup?
Backup? Okay.
But if we do it the 6th, does that not mean that by November 8th, we have to finalize the warrant? And are we ready to do that in just under 2 weeks? If we have to post, don't we have to post the warrant 28 days ahead of time?
I think
There-
2 weeks.
Oh, 14 weeks, all right.
2 weeks ahead,
However, you got to open it up
Yeah.
for the warrant and
right, to put in the
whatever,
warrant
so,
articles, though, so that may be pushing it, too, yeah.
yeah. I mean, realistically, probably the 13th is a better date, but.
Yeah. Well, probably be better on the 13th. I agree with that, because if you look at timelines there with the holidays for Thanksgiving and stuff, and then having time, we're meeting again on the 22nd of November, so we'd have to,
So how about we go with the 13th with the backup of the 17th, that
The
Saturday?
Saturday, yeah.
yeah, 13th with a backup of the Saturday, the 17th.
I mean, just for the fact that the meeting's in December and giving our population in town, it kind of makes sense to have the meeting during the day. So falling to a Saturday, 12, 1 o'clock versus 6, 7 o'clock at night when you know it's going to be pitch black.
Yeah,
You don't like doing things in the pitch dark?
Well, I'm just saying, 30% of our population is senior citizens, right?
It's true,
I mean,
yes.
they don't want to come out necessarily at that time of day.
I do come to these meetings.
I know.
It's
We need a
dark out
quorum.
when I leave.
As much as we love having Ed there,
gonna
he
be
doesn't
darker
count
out.
for the quorum.
It'd be darker out by December, though.
That's what I mean.
But be careful, don't forget, I count as a senior citizen being over
Yeah.
60 now, so.
I'm just saying, our
We'll get there.
constituents.
Well, let's try, because I think we wouldn't want to go into like the 20th. I think that's too close to Christmas and holidays. So the 13th with maybe a Saturday backup of the 17th.
Okay, I'll run it
Yeah.
by
And I think that's as
the
late as we
town
can
moderator
push
and the
it.
That's
town
as late as
clerk,
we can go,
because
so-
I know
Yeah.
the moderator always says, traditionally, they're on the Tuesday, so,
I know, but.
Traditionally, but
yeah.
130 years, we're ready to break with tradition.
All right, there's where we are. Okay, let's try that. Any other business that can't wait till the next meeting? Can't think of anything offhand. Anybody have anything?
Don't stretch the meeting to come up with something.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. We're on a roll tonight. We're doing
Yes.
okay. We're doing all right.
Yeah,
Okay, old business then. I don't think we need to talk about East Street Bridge anymore. COVID update, we know there's still
Well-
COVID around for sure.
Yes, well, I mean, you know more than the other three from last night's technology meeting, but
Yeah.
we ran into another bump in the road, and it appears...
Voice over IP, right?
Voice over
Yeah,
IP,
right.
yes. Not the East Street Bridge, no.
No.
That appears that the system that is being used here in Town Hall is really old and antiquated to the point that one of our consultants has never seen anything quite like it. However, it came up that, and I couldn't understand this one, they came back to me and said, well, there's an issue with the porting because there's some hunt groups in it. And they listed off the hunt groups, and one happened to be 3 numbers in the COA, which I'd given them 2, so I found out there was a 3rd number in there, but it really doesn't affect us.
Just explain what a hunt group is. I know you told me, but.
Yeah, you dial one number, and if it's busy, it'll look for another, and it'll loop around. However, the second set of hunt numbers happens to go to police dispatch, and I don't want to be responsible for messing those up. So I'm really worried about those. The 3rd set goes to the library, and actually the 2nd set and the 3rd set, which goes to the library, I had not given them any of these phone numbers because they're not supposed to be affected because it's town hall. So I had asked the question, why are they coming back with these phone numbers? We didn't give them to them. Well, it goes back to the fact that our main number is the select board office and the town administrators, the 5029, well, because that's listed, because we wanted it ported over, it brings up all these hunt groups. So we're supposed to have a conference call with our consultant from Valley Communications and someone from TPX on what the solution of workaround or whatever might be with this. I've already said, okay, well, if we didn't port the 5029 number, and yes, it would be somewhat of a, I won't say pain, but I'll say challenge. If we didn't port that number but left it with Verizon as a copper line number but didn't utilize it, and had TPX create a new telephone number for the select board and the town administrator's office, however, that means we got to change all the letterheads, the website, anything else that's out there, cards, what have you. Would that be a solution that wouldn't affect these other hunt groups? So we're working through that right now.
So a couple of things, since I wasn't at the technology meeting last night. We still have to maintain copper lines in the building because we have the elevator. I'm assuming the elevator has to stay on a copper line.
We're not porting over all the numbers, absolutely correct.
So the 5029 number could stay in that group and just be a forward to whatever this new number is, this mass, almost like a DID for you. So that citizens could still call the 5029 number, but they would get redirected unknowingly to this thing as a possibility. But I guess my bigger concern is part of the due diligence of quoting this would have been soliciting all the invoices and the bills and contacting Verizon and doing the background. So this should have all been known prior to getting a proposal before us. I don't see how any of this is the town's fault, but yeah. I mean, they gave us a quote, they gave us a price, we signed to it, we agreed to it. They need to make it happen now. Have we paid any money? No deposits or anything?
We bought the phones, that's all we've done so far, right?
Yeah, like I say, my issue is I do not want to impact phone calls that are going to police dispatch.
Well, I agree with that.
Yeah.
I mean, and now that you know that, yes, but in all honesty, they're the vendor, they're the expert. This should have been flushed out well ahead of time, in my view.
But maybe one of the ideas that John has is worth asking them about just leaving the main number, but having it have a backup number that redirects automatically so that we don't have to change the letterhead and all that kind of stuff. That for the outside world, that is still our phone number.
Yep.
But somehow internally it makes a quick forward call or something. But, yeah.
There is a fee, a reoccurring monthly fee to do that.
Yeah.
Just put it out there. Ma Bell needs to be paid.
Yeah. But you and David Rooks and Sorensen are going to have any phone call on that, or?
Well, we're actually going to have a phone call with somebody from TPX.
Or TPX?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So that's happening sometime this week or sometime?
Probably late this week, early next week, yes.
Yeah.
Have you done the in-house training?
No, not yet. So the idea was to do a Tuesday, Wednesday deployment idea?
Tuesday install, and then on the Wednesday do like the training in the morning and do the porting like at noontime.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, the real main concern, it doesn't sound like the library is that much of a concern, but the dispatch obviously would be, but there's got to be a way to solve that without dragging us further behind. I mean, we had hoped that, these guys would be much more responsive in terms of getting something in. I mean, it sounds like Chris Sorensen and crew have been, but the working with TPX has not been as smooth as we thought it might be.
Correct.
Yeah. Well, okay. Well, keep working on that one for sure. Gosh. Okay, I think we're down to signatures. We got a couple of personnel change forms. Joy, you want to take one for Concom here?
Sure, absolutely. So we have a PCF for Conservation Commission agent, Nicholas Pietronero. For number of week hours 14 at $25.99. And it says per contract, this position is funded by the ARPA funds that we gave for, I think, 2 years. And this is a part-time, non-benefit position. And I would move to approve this PCF.
Okay. And just a bit of his background, he's got a, what did I just see that? Sorry.
Oh, sorry, I didn't see it.
Yeah, that's right. He did write a letter in as well as provided his resume.
Yes.
So he's been working in Beckett presently as the conservation agent there. He's had other work in the Westfield area. Let's see, he graduated from Westfield State with a bachelor's in environmental science and restoration ecology, wetland assessment and planning. And so, yeah.
He's very qualified.
And his references had nothing but rave reviews for him.
Very good, okay. Good, and he comes from Feeding Hills, actually, so he's not a resident, but that's fine. So, okay.
I'll second the motion.
All right. Any discussion? If not, could I have a vote? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. Motion approved for Nicholas Pietronero. Very good. Next one. We have a PCF for the volunteer coordinator in the Council on Aging. Francine, you want to take that one?
Sure. Catherine DeSanto, a Southampton resident, replacing Florence Collins as the volunteer coordinator, starting November 1st, 2022. I'm having trouble with my glasses in this print, okay.
$17.
10 hours a week.
Yeah,
$17 an hour.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So with that,
And her background a little bit is?
her background is, let me look at this a little bit.
She's from Southampton, so she's.
Yeah, she is from Southampton.
County, yep. Very involved at UMass, I believe this is the one, right?
Yeah.
Let me see that. Currently, she's the.
I'm looking at her,
Yeah,
yes,
no, that's fine.
her background.
I'll
yes.
just jump in if you don't mind. Currently, she's the co-chair for special education, parent advisory council for the Holyoke Public Schools. She's been involved as the assistant athletic director for administration at UMass. Various other departments at UMass, university events and special initiatives in particular. So she comes to us with a bachelor's of science in social and behavioral sciences from UMass.
And she has some good computer skills that will go help the COA.
Great.
Excellent handwriting as well.
Yeah, the handwriting.
Very
is-
impressed.
Yes.
Great penmanship, too. Yeah, right. Okay. All right. Could we have a motion then? Or that was the motion? Sorry.
I'll second.
All right. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Motion passes. Thank you. All right. Next, I think we've already taken this up. We have a resignation for the admin treasurer collector clerk, Angela Bolduc. I think we've already passed on that. We voted on that correctly. And next, John, you want to take these next two for highway department here? Or no, I guess it's not highway.
Right.
Sorry.
We have a reoccurring theme here. So
Yep.
there's an opening in the treasurer collector's office, and once again, our dedicated employee, Robin Richards, has stepped forward to offer to help. So we have two orders before us: part-time emergency 2-week appointment, admin, treasurer, collector, clerk at $19.25 per hour, as well as a temporary part-time non-benefited admin, treasurer, collector, clerk at $19.25, not to exceed 12 hours. The PPPB committee took these up, spoke with the department head who joined us via Zoom, and we modified or added additional wording to say that any hours done could not exceed 40 hours per pay week and had to be done during the normal business hours of the office, Monday through Thursday.
And then one other little piece is Jen sent us a little email that the 1925 was actually an incorrect rate. It should be 1964.
So I'll move to amend this body's motion to note that change of 1964 with the same restrictions that PPPB put in place.
Okay. And so with that not to exceed 40 hours, that takes into account work both at the Highway Department, transfer station, possible work at the Water Commission?
Well, that was our concern, because the board had already previously approved the 5 hours, and at
Right.
that point in time when we met, the PPP was not, was under the assumption that it had been tabled at this level. So we just wanted to make it clear, this isn't adding Friday, this is when the office is open to the public, that these hours can happen.
Okay. And we're modifying it to the 1964
Correct.
for both of these. So we have both the temporary or emergency appointment.
Which matches her current rate.
Correct, that is the current
at the
rate.
Highway Department.
So she'll be working 4 10-hour days.
Up to a maximum.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
my understanding from the department head is that any hours done at the water department would be done on Friday when town hall is closed.
Correct.
That makes sense.
Which is fine if town hall's closed, I mean, you're over there, but for the treasury office,
Yeah. And I think with the Water Department, the way it was worded was up to 5 hours too, so it wasn't necessarily 5 hours.
Yeah,
But the highway
it's
department is
possible that
open
she
5
works
days.
0 hours, 1 hours,
Right.
up to 5, so.
Right, so depending on the workload at the Water Commission, sometimes she may not have anything there that pay period, right? Okay.
we just didn't want to get into an overtime situation.
Correct.
And we didn't want to get into a situation where a non-department head was being permitted to work on Fridays when town hall's closed.
Correct, right.
We didn't want to set that precedent.
All right. And we're still actively recruiting, are we, for this position now? Or we will be recruiting again? Or are we not? We're looking to Robin for like the long term, or we're actually recruiting as well?
No.
No.
She will have to come forward with a PRF, which I don't think I've seen as of yet for recruiting.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So we have a motion.
Okay, I'll second the emergency and the temporary
As amended.
PCF.
As amended. As amended at 19.
As amended at 1964 per hour for Robin Richards.
Right, plus the wording that John has included, not to exceed 40 hours at a Monday to Thursday work week during regular business hours. Okay, with that, if no discussion, could I have a vote, please? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, and that goes for both the emergency and the appointment, okay? All right, thank you.
Okay, the warrants.
Go ahead.
Payroll warrant P 23-11A for $416.70. Payroll warrant P 23-13 for $311,273.59. Payroll deduction warrant 23-13 for $53,831.25. Payroll deduction warrant 23-13A, which included retirement for $203,585.29, and vendor warrant 23-14 for $311,330.24.
Okay. All right. Anybody have any questions on those? I have some on just one of these. Go ahead, John.
But I guess, Francine, could you help me with your process, since I've never actually done this? So when you're signing off on the warrants, are you looking at the underlying documents
Yes,
to support it?
yeah.
Okay. So I'm curious, and I'm not going to ask you to recite this one, but I'm curious as to why we're spending money at Mercedes-Benz of Springfield?
Because we have a Mercedes-Benz truck that has to be serviced by Mercedes-Benz.
I didn't know if you perhaps got a new town car or something.
Well, I
just want to make it clear.
Well, I do, but that one goes to Ferrari.
There you go. And then the other thing, I just want to point out that it looks like during this warrant period that at least on one time, we were unable to, it appears we were unable to service or to staff the ambulance in Easthampton, hit us with a surcharge of $500 to respond to our citizens.
No,
That's where on the vendor-
you get the.
That's on the last warrant, that's on W23-14, second to last page.
Yes. And that's all that, the invoice would just reflect the amount of the number of trips.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, and on that same warrant, and I mentioned this to Ed and Bradley before, and I got partially an answer, but I just wanted to put it out there. On the Treasury warrant for 2314, so, two things, actually. I have two separate questions. This might be a different question, Ed, sorry. On this one, there's something under the ARPA funds expense, which is the account ending in 135, which sounds correct, but it's Hampshire Regional School District for 1250, and then tie and bond for 490. So tie and bond, I would gather, maybe is the rest of that sewer study?
I know that one because that came across my desk. So yes, that is part of that sewer, pond sewer system study.
Okay.
Yeah.
But the Hampshire Regional School District, I was a little not clear what that one might be, but that's okay. We can, if you wouldn't mind checking that.
We'll go back and look at that.
Yeah.
That was 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, so I'll just get back to that. And then the one that I'm just concerned about on this one is on the last page, it's account number 285-100-809, and it's the Town Hall Feasibility Study by GZA Geo-Environmental. Is that the old town hall or this town hall? I don't get that one. It's for $1,500.
That would actually be the splash pad. What's in the?
It says Town Hall Feasibility Study.
It says Town Hall.
Yeah, it's under 285-100-809. It's the very last page, page 4 of.
And it's charged to the wrong account.
Charged to the wrong account.
Yeah, it should be,
Didn't sound
it
like.
should be charged to the CPC matching funds for the splash pad.
Okay. Okay, so that one, that just didn't hit me correctly, yeah. And then back on the, this is one that we had talked about on the payroll, warrant 2313 on page 8. We've got a whole bunch of ARPA wages here, which are all basically, with the exception of the Board of Health Director, all related to the school. And I know that we had approved 3 individuals to be the staff for the new programs at the school, but I wasn't clear who all these other people are that are getting $15 and $30.
I believe there were other people who were written in.
There's 4 different applications and approvals.
Right, that was
If I
true.
counted correctly.
Correctly, I think there is.
This particular one, if my memory's correct, is 2312, which if I read the application, and I'm going to follow up because they did a wonderful job on a report, on the quarterly report. However, they combined everything in that quarterly report. So as I read this particular application, it appears to me that they are doing, oh God, what's the correct
Training,
term?
or?
Well, it's called something development. Staff, well, I'm just going to say staff development.
Professional development.
Thank you.
Which I think there was 20,000
Yeah.
one time to get the entire school up to speed on this program.
Yeah,
Okay.
which was,
And then it kicks into so yes, you're right, there was the 4 employees, but there was PE, professional development money, as a lump sum that applied.
Yeah.
So the whole school could be, the staff could be educated on this
Okay.
program. It shouldn't reoccur.
yeah, they
okay.
should, according to the application, they were going to do 6 hours of training, so, well,
I mean,
and I hate to do this, but I'll say it. My assumption was that, okay, for that training, that was the portion of the hours or whatever that was allocated to those particular staff members.
Yeah, could be. I mean, but it was all like $15 and $30, so it was like per person. It was very,
An hour or two.
yeah,
For the
so
training.
at most, so that's fine. I just wanted to be sure that, as we start out, that we're,
Yep.
if we're catching any ARPA stuff, we catch it quick so that we can correct it. So, good. But if you would check on that town
will
hall
be happy
study
to.
one, that doesn't seem right at all. Yeah. Okay, very good. Next, moving on, documents that require signatures. We've got a bunch. I think we have the conservation restrictions for the Kestrel Land Trust for Madsen and Gilmore, which we had discussed a couple meetings ago, and with a couple of minor changes. Those have been corrected and are ready to sign. We also have a retirement certificate for Barbara Golden. We have the license agreement for Clearwater Woodland with the Beagle Club.
Yep.
And we have the fraud risk assessment policy to sign. So we have 4 documents to sign tonight. that had all been approved. And while Ed's getting all those ready, we have one set of minutes to approve from August 2nd, 2002. Anybody have any notes on those minutes from August 2nd?
CRs.
The very end of
I
your,
don't have notes about, I don't have a retirement certificate in here.
no,
Oh, all right,
it's,
okay.
no,
Okay.
it didn't make it in the package. So we'll pass everything around here, but,
So a motion to approve the minutes of August 2nd, 2022.
all right,
Well, second.
all right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I abstain, I wasn't there.
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't sure. It said you were absent. That wasn't the meeting that you were in on by Zoom, was it, Francine? It says you were absent, but I don't know.
No, I was on vacation.
Were you? Okay, fine. Just wanted to be sure. Okay, good. So minutes are approved. 3-1, one abstain. Okay, very good. So other than that, I think that's really
That's the
all
license
we
agreement.
have.
The, just before we can sign, but before I
Right.
sign the conservation restrictions,
Yeah?
am I to understand that there is no substantial changes to the language and it's, for all intents and purposes, the same thing we already approved?
No substantial changes.
Yeah.
Okay, correct.
Yeah, there's a couple things about the open
Grammatical,
space
but
committee
just-
date and a couple of grammatical things, yeah.
All right.
And then the fraud risk assessment policy is the one that Rini had helped reword, and that's the final version of that to sign as well. So I think that's it. So with that, I think can we, I guess we'll keep on signing while we're still in,
Oh, they're coming down, yes.
I know, but we shouldn't adjourn, right, until we finish signing?
Oh, you actually can.
Did we ever actually vote on the fraud, or did we table it because of Rainey's feedback and
My memory is it was approved with her,
With her to,
non-substantial changes?
correct.
yeah. Yeah, we allowed her to work with Ed to make the changes. So with that, I think we have nothing else on the agenda?
You mentioned the.
Yes, I did mention that.
Okay.
So while we're busy signing this, I think we could actually have a motion to adjourn. We have no other business on the agenda for tonight, and we will be back again on November 10th, which is different from our normal meeting day.
So move.
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. We are adjourned at around 8:30-ish.